It's hot, it's sweaty. I know that I want to go inside and whack on the AC and chill out, but you know who else wants to chill out? The beer brewing in the tank. So, time to talk Glycol Chillers. Welcome back, brewers and beer lovers, to Flying Wombat TV, the channel all about beer, banter, and bloody good times. So, as we said in the opener, we are talking Glycol Chillers. So today, we're going to talk about what they are, how they work, the pros and cons of this particular model, and if you should buy one. So, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get stuck into it. So, what is a Glycol Chiller? It's basically a big box with a coolant refrigerant inside it. It allows you to hold a steady temperature during fermentation in a vessel. So that's essentially what they are, a big fridge with a lot of liquid inside. Glycol mixture is normally 20% glycol to 80% water. The reason that we do that is because it allows that liquid to go below 0 degrees without freezing. That is particularly useful when you're trying to cold crash a tank and you're trying to drop that temperature to 0, sometimes just a touch below 0 degrees. You don't want these glycol lines to get all frozen up. You need that liquid moving. So that's why we use glycol. How they work is pretty simple. Basically, there's a big reservoir inside here of really cold glycol mixture liquid. That stuff gets pumped through these lines into a tank and at a set temperature. So if you choose to ferment at 18 degrees Celsius, these things will keep turning off and on to make sure that that tank stays at 18 degrees Celsius when it starts to warm up during fermentation. So the particular unit that we have here is the BrewBuilt IceMaster Max for chiller. It's a mouthful. Basically, what it is a 30-liter reservoir inside that is, whatever that is in gallons. Put a thing up, please, Odin. And then it's got 3/8 horsepower, caster wheels on the bottom, so it's mobile, it can move around. 4 different pumps with 4 different temperature-controlled probes, as well as barbed fittings for all of these, glycol line connections. And a 780-watt cooling capacity. End edit. So this particular unit is capable of cold crashing one of these, 1 BBL, 200 liter-ish tanks at a time, or cold crashing 2 of these half BBL, so half barrel tanks at a time. So this is about, 60 liters sort of thing if we're talking Australian units. It is capable of controlling the temperature of a whole bunch of these things all at once. But when we're talking about cold crashing specifically, based on the horsepower that this thing has, could do 1 of those or could do 2 of those. So why the hell do we need one of these things? Long and short of it is we don't. At the homebrew level, something like this is really not essential, but if you want one, it's a brilliant nice to have. Reason being, you just get supreme temperature control. If you decide that you want this thing to be sitting with a pale ale at, 19 degrees Celsius, it will stay smack on 19 degrees. If you're over here, you're fermenting a lager at the same time in the middle of summer and you want it to stay at 14, 13 degrees Celsius, it will stay at that 13 or 14 degrees. So it gives you just supreme temperature control to make sure that your fermentations stay at that set temperature. So you've got much, much less chance of developing any kind of off flavors because you can control everything that's going on during that fermentation. Now let's talk pros. So when it comes to pros, generally speaking, the obvious is temperature control, like we just said. But pros when it comes to this particular model, there's a couple key things. One, which I would say is the biggest one, is the fact that you have 4 different sensor probes, which are connected to 4 different submersible pumps, so that you can control 4 different vessels at the same time at totally different temperatures. So if you wanted one tank to be cold crashing, while the other tank is at the start of fermentation, something else is at the middle, something's towards the tail end, you can control those different temperatures based on those different beers and their different yeasts without skipping a beat. So that is really, really cool that you have the ability to control different vessels at different temperatures. Next big pro is that this thing is ridiculously user-friendly. So all there literally is to it is you fill this thing up with your glycol liquid, so your 20% glycol, 80% water, 30 liters total inside the tank. After that, all you need to do is set a temperature for the actual reservoir itself. So if you're controlling multiple vessels, you could set this thing to be -2 degrees Celsius, and then you just choose what temperature you want your different vessels to stay at. So this one over here, I'm fermenting pretty hot for a bit of an experiment. So I want it to go no more than 31 degrees. We can see that right now, it's at 28.4. So we're golden. This one over here has got nothing in it at the moment. But when we do fill it up, if I wanted this thing to be set at 19 degrees Celsius, it will stay there. So that control across different vessels really, really useful when you're a brewer that has multiple batches going on at the same time. Last big pro, this thing is super mobile. So it's on caster wheels, which means it can just, move around really easily. You're not, stuck trying to pick up a really heavy unit and shuffle it over. You can just push it around when you need to do some cleaning, need to move it out of the way, whatever it might be. So yeah, those are the pros. Now, nothing's ever perfect, so I guess we've got to do the cons. There's a couple with this particular unit. I don't know if it's standard across all chillers or maybe it's just this particular type of chiller, but one big thing that really irks me is just how fragile and temperamental these temperature probes are. So we've had to replace these probes a couple of times because they've rusted up, the actual plug-in spot for the probe hasn't been registering properly anymore. The probe itself dies and you need to get new ones. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it is frustrating when it's, say, 11 o'clock at night, you've just finished brewing, now you just want to whack on your temperature control, but none of your probes are working. It's frustrating in those moments and you kind of want to bash the machine. This one is more user error, but, specifically freezing your beer. If you set the reservoir too cold and then you set your temperature probe too cold so that your line just keeps running glycol through it, and if that glycol is like -5 degrees Celsius, you're gonna freeze beer, and I've done that. So it's not the blame of the machine itself. I guess it's more a cautionary tale. Don't freeze your beer unless you're making like an Eisenbock and you want to freeze your beer. Sure, go for it. But a degree of caution. You can freeze beer if you don't use these things properly. One more con, and again, this is kind of user error, kind of cautionary tale, but it can happen with units like this. These are hose barb fittings, right? They can come off. So you'll notice that I've got butterfly clamps on all of these things that have my devices connected to it, because there has been moments where I've set this thing to stay at a certain temperature, the glycol is pumping, I leave, the brewery and I'm doing other stuff. I come back the next day, one of the tubes has come off and the machine just pumped all the glycol all across the floor. And let me tell you, glycol is not easy to clean. It's like spilling oil, like olive oil in your kitchen. That shit is slippery and it takes ages to get rid of it. So make sure if you are using one of these that you do butterfly clamp all of your hose fittings. Otherwise, at some point, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. Last con, cost. It's like anything in brewing. How long's a piece of string? How much money do you want to spend? It's worth talking about. So when I first got this machine, it was really hard to get in Australia. And I think I spent around $1,500 or $1,600 Aussie from memory after conversion and the shipping. They're a lot cheaper to get now. In Australia, you can get these things from Kegland for $880, which is an absolute bargain. Like, it's an awesome steal. It's worth it. If you want to get one of these things, totally go for it. But it is, a little bit of a barrier to entry. There is the money associated with buying these units, but it's not just about these. It's also about the costs to use them. So ongoing costs of, getting glycol, small expense, but it is there. It does mean that you need to replace the glycol every now and then. Other thing is you need fermenter vessels that are actually capable of connecting up with these machines. So you need fermenter vessels that are that have a chiller coil inside them, or that are, double skinned so that they have a cooling jacket around them. Those do get quite pricey. So don't get one of these if you're just like fermenting in a bucket without a coil and you don't want to, spend the money on upgrading all of your equipment, because you will need to upgrade quite a lot of equipment to be able to actually use these things properly. However, I do believe Kegland is selling the, what are they called? Fermentosauruses, or whatever they're called now, the all-rounders, that you can drop a cooling coil inside those plastic pressurized vessels. So it is a lot cheaper than it used to be, but there is still the investment of the equipment you need to be able to use this thing with those tanks. Last con, before I forget, I don't know, this one is definitely a user error, but it could be designed in a way that just makes it less likely that this could happen. There are vents all around the machine, which, are needed. There's a cooling vent on that side, cooling vent on this side, vent on this side. You do need it because these machines get hot because they're basically fridges and they run, a lot of power. But because they're just open slots like this, it's super easy to just get water in here. Like if you're hosing down after cleaning, or if, a pump malfunctions and it sprays everywhere, which has happened to me. Once the water gets in there, and if this machine is on, you will short the machine and you can fry some of the circuits. So it's annoying that they're designed in this particular way. It would be useful if it was like an open vent with like down fins in front of them to stop water going inside the machine. But, it is kind of a user error thing. If you are careful, it should never happen, but it can happen. So I do caution you, put these in a location that is least likely to get water damage. Should you buy one of these? It's a hard question to answer because it's entirely personal and it's all about how much resources and money and time do you want to throw into this ridiculously expensive hobby when you start going down the rabbit hole. It's like if you start getting into fishing with a crappy Kmart fishing pole, and then you're like, oh, but I can catch bigger fish if I get this deep sea pole, or I can, get better fish if I get these better lures. You start dropping all this money into it, and then you have to ask the question, are you catching better fish? Is it worth it? I don't know. It's up to you. So basically, you can keep pouring more and more money into brewing, and you can keep getting better equipment, and you will probably get better beer. But it's up to you if you want to put those resources, that time, that energy into it. If you're at the point where you're getting into a lot of like stainless steel, or you're getting into pressure fermentation, or you are getting equipment that is taking it to next level, and now you want supreme temperature control, absolutely worth it. This thing is incredibly satisfying. When you finish like a 6-hour brew day, and then you come here and you go, okay, I want my pale ale to ferment at 19 degrees Celsius. And then you set the temperature, super satisfying to know that it will be at 19 degrees Celsius. So it's up to you. If you want temperature control, if you want to reduce the variables that can damage your beer, and if you want to start taking it to the next level, absolutely get one. If you're not looking to invest too many more dollars into brewing and you kind of just want to keep this to extract brewing, or just brew in a bag, and you don't want to get all this fancy stainless steel, then maybe just stick with no temperature control and put your fermenter in a steady location. It's entirely up to you. Now, it's not to say that this is the only way to control temperature. It's not. So you have options when it comes to home brewing. You could just do nothing about temp control and just put your fermenter in a relatively cool, dark location that doesn't have swings in temperature, like in a basement or something. Totally fine, it will work a lot of the time. Second option is you got like the whole wet towel option. So if you're in the middle of summer, if you soak a towel in water and then you wrap that towel around your fermenter, through condensation and evaporation, it will have a cooling effect. It will evaporate and cool down your fermenter and try to hold that temperature more steady. And that's a totally viable option. And then lastly is stuff like this. So it's about how much effort do you want to put in, how much money do you want to spend, versus what kind of output and outcome are you actually going to get. Up to you. There you guys. Alright, so there you have it, guys. I'm getting a bit sweaty. It's time for me to chill out while this thing chills my beer out. So that's our review of the BrewBuilt IceMaster Max 4 chiller. Still a massive mouthful. And our general pros and cons, how Glycol Chillers work, what they do, and what's the point of them. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, any questions, click it down to us in the comments below. As always, brew on, guys. Catch you next time.